The underground fight club in Seoul smelled like sweat, blood, and broken dreams. In the center of the concrete room, Tae-min Kim threw another punch at his opponent's jaw. The man dropped to the floor like a sack of rice. The crowd cheered, but Tae-min felt nothing. He had won again, but it meant nothing to him anymore. 3 years ago, he had been Captain Tae-min Kim of the Korean Special Forces. Now he was just another fighter trying to forget his past in the dark corners of the city. The scars on his face told stories he did not want to remember. His hands, once steady enough to disarm a bomb, now only knew how to hurt people for money. Another easy win, said the fight organizer, counting out dirty bills. You want to fight again tomorrow? Tae-min took his money and walked toward the exit. He did not answer. He never stayed to talk after fights. He just wanted to go home to his tiny apartment and sleep until the nightmares came. But someone was waiting for him outside. Tae-min Kim. The voice was familiar. Tae-min turned around and saw a man in a clean military uniform. Captain Woo-jin Park, his old commanding officer, the man who had kicked him out of the army. What do you want? Tae-min asked. His voice was cold as winter. I need to talk to you, Woo-jin said. It's important. More important than anything we've ever done. Tae-min laughed, but there was no joy in it. Nothing you say can be important to me anymore. You made sure of that. The world is in danger, Woo-jin said quietly. Real danger, not from North Korea, or China, or Russia. From something we never expected. Above them, the night sky suddenly became bright as day. Both men looked up and saw something impossible. Hundreds of giant ships hung in the air above Seoul. They were bigger than any building, covered in lights that pulsed like heartbeats. The ships were clearly not from Earth. People began running out of buildings, pointing at the sky and screaming. Car alarms went off everywhere. The ground shook as more ships appeared over every major city in the world. Aliens, Woo-jin said simply. They came 3 days ago. They want to talk. Tae-min stared at the ships. His military training kicked in automatically. He began counting the ships, looking for weapons, planning escape routes. Old habits never died. What do they want? He asked. To test us, Woo-jin replied. They call themselves the Galactic Consortium. They say Earth is now part of their territory, but they'll give us a chance to prove we deserve respect. How? A fight? One human against their champions? If we win, we get to join their club as equals. If we lose, we become their slaves forever. Tae-min turned away from the sky and looked at his old commander. Find someone else. I don't fight for my country anymore. Remember? There is no one else, Woo-jin said urgently. We checked every military record, every fighting champion, every martial artist in the world. Your combat record is the best we have. 37 missions, 0 failures. You never lost a fight until I killed civilians, Tae-min finished. Until I followed orders that were wrong, until you threw me away like garbage. That mission wasn't your fault, Woo-jin said. The intelligence was bad. You couldn't have known those people were innocent. But I should have known. Tae-min started walking away. Find another hero, Captain. I'm not interested. Woo-jin followed him. If you don't do this, everyone on Earth will suffer. Men, women, children. Everyone we've ever known or loved will become slaves to creatures we can't even understand. Not my problem anymore. What about your sister? Tae-min stopped walking. His sister Hyo-jin was the only family he had left. She worked as a teacher in Busan, helping poor children learn to read. She still sent him letters every month, even though he never wrote back. She still believed he was a good person. What about her? Tae-min asked quietly. She'll become a slave, too, along with all her students, all the children she cares about. Tae-min closed his eyes. He saw his sister's face, the way she smiled when she talked about her kids. He thought about those children, innocent and hopeful, wearing chains because he was too much of a coward to fight for them. Show me the footage, he said finally. Woo-jin led him to a black military car. Inside was a laptop computer with video from around the world. Tae-min watched as the alien ships landed in major cities. The creatures that came out were like nothing he had ever seen. Some looked like giant insects. Others had too many arms or eyes in the wrong places. A few looked almost human, but with blue skin or silver hair. One video showed their leader, a tall creature with white fur and golden eyes. It spoke perfect English into the cameras. "People of Earth," the creature said, "I am High Commander Veltar of the Galactic Consortium. Your world is now part of our territory. However, we offer you a choice. Send one warrior to our grand arena. If this warrior can defeat our champions, your species will join us as equals. If not, you will be placed under our protection, which means you will serve us." The creature smiled, showing teeth like knives. "You have 7 days to decide. Choose wisely." Taemin closed the laptop. Outside the car, people were still running and screaming. The alien ships cast huge shadows over the city. "How many champions will I have to fight?" he asked. "We don't know," Wu Jin admitted. "Maybe 5, maybe 50. They won't tell us until you agree. And if I lose, then everyone we know becomes a slave forever." Taemin was quiet for a long time. He thought about his sister, about the children she taught, about all the people running scared in the streets. He thought about the underground fights, about how empty his life had become. Maybe this was his chance to mean something again. Maybe this was how he could make up for his mistakes. "I'll need my old gear," he said finally. "And I want Doksu Lee as my trainer." Wu Jin smiled for the first time. "Already arranged. We leave for the arena tomorrow." "Where is this arena?" "In space. On their command ship." Taemin looked up at the alien ships one more time. He had fought many battles in his life, but never one like this. Never one where the entire human race depended on him alone. He climbed into the car. Tomorrow, he would find out if a broken soldier could become humanity's savior. The alien ship was bigger than any city Taemin had ever seen. When the transport pod carried him inside, he felt like an ant crawling into a mountain. The walls were made of some kind of metal that changed colors as he walked past. Lights floated in the air without any wires or bulbs. Everything smelled like ozone and something sweet he could not name. Doksu. Lee walked beside him, carrying a bag of training equipment. The old man had been Taemin's first fight trainer 20 years ago. His face looked like old leather, marked by 1,000 fights. One of his eyes was fake, lost in a boxing match in his youth. "This place gives me the creeps," Doksu muttered. "Nothing feels right here." Behind them walked Jin Young, a young scientist who specialized in alien biology. The government had sent her to help analyze whatever creatures Taemin would fight. She kept staring at everything with wide eyes, taking notes on a tablet computer. "The gravity is slightly different," she said. "0.87 Earth normal. That should work in your favor, Taemin. You'll be faster and stronger than usual." A creature that looked like a 7-foot-tall lizard in armor guided them through the halls. It had not spoken once during the journey. Its yellow eyes never blinked, and its forked tongue flicked out constantly to taste the air. They passed through a huge chamber filled with beings from across the galaxy. Taemin tried not to stare, but it was impossible. Some creatures had too many arms. Others had no arms at all, just tentacles or wings or things he had no names for. A few looked almost human, but with strange colors or extra eyes or skin that moved like water. All of them stopped talking when they saw the human delegation pass by. Some laughed, others made sounds that might have been insults in languages Taemin could not understand. A few just stared with curious expressions. "They don't think much of us," Doksu observed. "Good," Taemin replied. "Let them underestimate me." The lizard creature led them to a section of the ship marked with symbols that looked like Earth writing. Inside were rooms that had been designed for human bodies, beds at the right height, air that smelled like home, gravity that felt normal. "These are your quarters," the lizard said in perfect Korean. Its voice sounded like gravel in a cement mixer. "You have 3 days to prepare before the first combat test. Meals will be provided. Do not leave this section without permission." The creature left them alone. Taemin looked around the main room. It was bigger than his apartment back home, but it felt like a prison cell. Through a large window he could see the stars, and far below, the blue and white marble of Earth. "So what now?" Doksu asked. "Now we train," Taemin said, "and we learn everything we can about what we're fighting." For the next 2 days, Jin Young briefed them on the creatures they might face. She had managed to get information about some of the other species in the consortium. The Kreks are reptilian, like our guide, she explained, showing pictures on her tablet. They have natural armor and are about 3 times stronger than humans. The Valdris look like giant spiders but think with a hive mind. The Corvani can change their shape at will. Each new piece of information made their situation seem more hopeless. The alien champions had natural weapons, armor, abilities that humans could only dream of. Some could read minds. Others could become invisible. A few could shoot poison or electricity from their bodies. How am I supposed to fight things like this? Taemin asked. The same way humans have always fought, Doksu said. With your brain, we can't match them for strength or natural weapons, but we can outthink them. On the 3rd day, everything changed. Taemin was running through combat exercises when the door to their quarters opened. A figure walked in that made everyone stop and stare. She was clearly not human, but she was beautiful in a way that took Taemin's breath away. Her skin was pale blue like winter ice. Her hair was silver and seemed to move by itself. Her eyes were the color of deep ocean water. She wore robes that looked like they were made from starlight. When she moved, she seemed to float instead of walk. But despite her alien appearance, something about her reminded Taemin of Korean nobility. From old paintings. I am Princess Hyera of the Vellani Empire, she said. Her voice was like music. I wanted to meet Earth's champion before the games begin. Everyone bowed automatically. Even Doksu, who had never bowed to anyone in his life, found himself bending his head. Your Highness, Jin Young stammered. We are honored. The princess walked around Taemin slowly, studying him like he was a puzzle she was trying to solve. He stood still and let her look. Her eyes seemed to see everything. His scars, his stance, the way he held his hands ready for fighting even, when relaxed. You are smaller than I expected, she said finally. Size isn't everything, Taemin replied. No, she agreed. It is not. Tell me, human, why do you fight? The question surprised him. To protect my people. Not for glory, not for riches or power, no, she smiled. And Taemin felt his heart skip a beat. Interesting. Most warriors fight for themselves. You fight for others. What's the difference? The difference, she said, is that those who fight for others never truly lose. Even if they die, they win something more valuable than victory. She moved closer to him. He could smell something like flowers and rain. I have seen many champions, human. Some were stronger than mountains. Others were faster than lightning. But I have never seen one who fights for love instead of hate. Your Highness, Jin Young interrupted carefully. May I ask why you're here? The princess turned away from Taemin. My father is High Commander Veltar. He leads the Galactic Consortium. As his daughter, I must choose a mate from among the arena champions. It is our way. The room fell silent. Taemin felt something cold in his stomach. You mean, he started. I mean that whoever wins the Grand Championship will have the right to ask for my hand in marriage, she said. It is tradition. The strongest warrior wins the greatest prize. And if I lose, then you die, and humanity becomes slaves. She looked directly into his eyes. But if you win, you gain more than just freedom for your people. You gain a voice in how the galaxy is run. She walked toward the door, then paused. I will be watching your fights, human. Show me what your species is truly made of. After she left, the room remained quiet for a long time. Well, Doksu finally said, that changes things. Does it? Taemin asked. You're fighting for more than just Earth now, Jin Young said softly. You're fighting for a chance to change everything. Taemin walked to the window and looked down at his home planet. Somewhere down there, his sister was teaching children to read. Somewhere, people were living their lives, not knowing that everything depended on what happened in the next few days. No, he said quietly. I'm still fighting for the same thing, to protect the people I care about. But even as he said it, he could not get Princess Hyera's ocean blue eyes out of his mind. There was something about her that made him want to be better than he was. Something that made him want to win, not just for humanity, but for her. Tomorrow, the real fighting would begin. The grand arena was like nothing Tae-min had ever imagined. It was a vast circular space that could hold 1,000,000 spectators. The floor could change into any environment: jungle, desert, ocean, or even open space. Floating cameras buzzed around, like metal insects, broadcasting the fights to billions of viewers across the galaxy. Tae-min stood in the preparation chamber, checking his equipment one last time. He wore lightweight armor that the humans had designed, flexible plates that covered his vital organs but left him free to move. His weapons were simple: a combat knife and his bare hands. Against creatures with natural claws, poison, and armor, it didn't seem like much. "Remember," Jin Young said, reviewing her notes, "your first opponent is Crix 9 from the Proxima system. Crystalline structure very hard to damage with conventional weapons, but crystals can be shattered if you hit them in the right place." "Where's the right place?" Tae-min asked. "The joints, where different crystal formations meet. Look for the lines." So Young, their team medic, finished checking his vital signs. "Your heart rate is perfect," she said. "You're as ready as you'll ever be." Doksu put a heavy hand on Tae-min's shoulder. "Fight smart, not hard. Use your head. That's what humans do best." The arena door opened with a sound like thunder. Tae-min walked into the light, and the roar of 1,000,000 alien voices washed over him like a wave. Most of the sounds were clearly mocking or dismissive. He heard laughter from creatures that probably ate humans for breakfast. In the royal box, he could see Princess Hyera watching him with those deep blue eyes. She nodded once, so slightly that he almost missed it. His opponent was waiting in the center of the arena. Crix 9 looked like a man-shaped diamond, 8 feet tall and covered in sharp edges. Light bent around its body in strange ways, making it hard to look at directly. When it moved, it sounded like breaking glass. The arena announcer, a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish, spoke in a voice that filled the entire space. "Citizens of the consortium, today we see the human challenge begin. From the primitive world of Earth, we present Tae-min Kim, his opponent, undefeated in 300 battles, Crix 9 of the Proxima Crystalline Empire." The crowd cheered for Crix 9. When Tae-min's name was announced, most of the aliens laughed or made dismissive sounds. "Let the first trial begin." Crix 9 moved faster than Tae-min expected. One moment it was 20 feet away, the next it was swinging a crystal arm toward his head. Tae-min ducked and rolled, feeling the air move as the deadly limb passed over him. He came up running, circling his opponent, the crystal being turned to follow him, but its movements were stiff, like a machine rather than a living thing. Tae-min feinted left, then dove right as Crix 9 swung again. This time he was close enough to strike back. He drove his combat knife toward what looked like a joint in the creature's leg. The knife shattered against the crystal surface. The crowd laughed louder. Crix 9 made a sound that might have been amusement, then backhanded Tae-min across the arena. The human hit the ground hard and rolled, tasting blood. "Conventional weapons useless," he muttered, getting back to his feet. "Jin Young, I need another plan." Through his earpiece he heard her voice. "The joints! Look for hairline fractures where the crystals meet." Tae-min dodged another crushing blow and looked closer at his opponent. There, along the creature's arm, he could see tiny lines where different crystal formations joined together. They were almost invisible, but they were there. The next time Crix 9 attacked, Tae-min didn't try to block or dodge completely. Instead, he grabbed the creature's arm and used its own momentum to slam it against the arena wall. The impact rang like a giant bell. A small crack appeared in one of the joints. The crowd grew quieter. This was not going as they expected. For the next 10 minutes, Tae-min played a deadly game of patience. He let Crix 9 attack him, then used the creature's own strength against it. Each impact created more small cracks in the crystal joints. Crix 9 began to move more carefully. It seemed to realize what the human was doing. But by then, it was too late. Tae-min saw his opening when the creature raised both arms for a finishing blow. All the cracks had weakened the joint at its shoulder. The human jumped up, grabbed the raised arm, and twisted with all his strength. Free. Crystal limb shattered with a sound like an explosion. Crix 9 staggered backward, dark fluid leaking from the broken joint. The arena fell completely silent. Taemin picked up a sharp piece of the broken crystal and drove it into another weakened joint. Crix-9 collapsed, its form breaking apart like a shattered window. Winner, Taemin Kim of Earth. The silence stretched for several seconds. Then slowly, some of the aliens began to cheer. Not many, but enough to create a new sound in the arena. The sound of surprise and growing respect. In the royal box, Princess HFY stood and clapped her hands. The gesture was small, but every creature in the arena saw it. The princess was showing approval for the human warrior. Over the next 2 weeks, Taemin fought 6 more preliminary battles. Each opponent was different and deadly in its own way. Against Velthak, the shapeshifter, he won by creating a pattern of attacks that the creature tried to copy. When Velthak took Taemin's form, the human changed his fighting style completely, confusing the mimic until he could land a killing blow. The hive mind warrior from Kepler 452b was defeated when Taemin did something completely irrational. He started singing an old Korean folk song in the middle of the fight. The hive mind, which depended on logical thinking, became confused, trying to understand why the human would waste energy on music. In that moment of confusion, Taemin struck. After each victory, more aliens in the crowd began to cheer for him. The primitive human was becoming something unexpected, a crowd favorite, but not everyone was happy about his success. 3 nights before the semi-final round, Taemin woke up feeling sick. His vision was blurry, his hands were shaking, and he could barely stand. So Young ran every test she could think of. "Poison," she said grimly. "Something in your food or water. I can treat it, but you'll be weak for days." "Can I still fight?" Taemin asked. "You shouldn't. This could kill you if you push too hard. I don't have a choice." That night, as Taemin lay recovering from So Young's treatments, Princess HFY visited him again. She entered his quarters quietly, moving like moonlight across water. "I heard you were poisoned," she said, sitting beside his bed. "News travels fast here. Some of the other species are concerned about your success. They did not expect a human to advance so far." "Are you concerned?" he asked. She was quiet for a moment, studying his face. "I am many things, but concerned is not one of them. Curious, perhaps. Impressed, certainly." "Why?" "Because you fight like no warrior I have ever seen. Most fighters try to prove they are the strongest or the fastest. You prove that you are the smartest. More importantly, you prove that you never give up." She reached out and touched his forehead. Her skin was cool and soft. "My people value strength above all else. We believe the strongest should rule. But watching you fight, I begin to wonder if we have been measuring strength the wrong way." "What do you mean?" "Physical power breaks things, but the kind of strength you show, it builds things. It protects things. It saves things." She smiled. "Perhaps that is more valuable." "Princess," Taemin said carefully, "why are you really here?" "Because tomorrow you fight in the semi-finals. If you win, you advance to face the grand champion. If you lose..." She did not finish the sentence. "If I lose, humanity becomes slaves." "Yes. But there is something else you should know. The grand champion is Gorath the Destroyer. He has never lost a fight. He has killed over 500 opponents. He is 10 feet tall and strong enough to crush steel with his bare hands. Then I'll have to be smarter than him." She leaned closer. "Taemin Kim of Earth, you have already won something more valuable than any championship." "What's that?" "You have shown the galaxy that there are different ways to be strong. Win or lose tomorrow, you have changed how we see your species." After she left, Taemin lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow would determine everything, not just for him, but for every human being alive. He thought about his sister, about the children she taught, about all the people on Earth who were depending on him. Then he thought about Princess HFY and the way she looked at him when she said he had changed things. Maybe that was enough. Maybe just showing the galaxy that humans wouldn't give up was a kind of victory by itself, but he still planned to win. The arena had been transformed for the championship fight. Instead of the usual circular floor, it now resembled a rocky canyon with cliffs, caves, and narrow passages. Floating platforms drifted slowly through the air, connected by energy bridges that flickered on and off. The environment would change every few minutes, keeping both fighters on their toes. Tae-min stood at the entrance to the arena, still feeling weak from the poison. So-young had done everything she could, but his reflexes were slower, and his strength was maybe 70% of normal. Against an ordinary opponent, that might not matter. Against Gorath the Destroyer, it could be a death sentence. Remember, Doksu said for the 100th time, don't try to match his strength. Use the environment. Use your brain. Make him work for every advantage. Jin-young held up her tablet, showing everything they had learned about Gorath. 10 feet tall, approximately 800 pounds of pure muscle, skin like natural armor, claws that can cut through steel, but he's never fought anyone who thinks like a human. What does that mean? Tae-min asked. Most species fight with instinct or honor codes or hive mind thinking. Humans are the only ones who fight dirty when we have to. Through his earpiece, he heard Wu Jin's voice from the command station. Tae-min, the whole world is watching. Every television, every computer, every phone on Earth is showing this fight. 6 billion people are counting on you. No pressure, Tae-min muttered. The arena doors opened. As Tae-min walked into the light, he was amazed by what he saw. The crowd had grown even larger. Nearly 2 million beings packed into the arena. But something had changed. When his name was announced, at least half the crowd cheered for him. The primitive human had won over many fans during his previous fights. In the royal box, Princess Hyra sat beside her father, High Commander Veltar. The tall, white-furred alien leader watched Tae-min with golden eyes that revealed nothing. But Princess Hyra smiled and nodded, just as she had before his first fight. Then Gorath entered from the opposite side of the arena, and the cheering became a roar. The creature was everything the reports had said and more. 10 feet of living nightmare, covered in dark scales that looked like armor plating. His arms were longer than his legs, ending in claws like black knives. His head was too small for his body, but his jaw could probably bite through a car. Red. Eyes burned like coals in a face that had never known mercy. Citizens of the Consortium, the announcer called. The championship battle begins. Gorath the Destroyer, undefeated in 537 battles, against Tae-min Kim of Earth, who has surprised us all. The crowd noise was deafening. Tae-min could feel the sound in his bones. Let the final battle begin. Gorath moved like a landslide, slow at first, then unstoppably fast. His first charge would have crushed Tae-min if the human had been there to meet it. Instead, Tae-min rolled to the side and scrambled up a rocky slope, putting distance between himself and the monster. Gorath roared in frustration and followed. Each step cracked the stone beneath his feet. When he swung his claws at Tae-min, chunks of rock flew like shrapnel. For the first 5 minutes, Tae-min did nothing but run and dodge. The crowd began to boo, thinking the human was showing cowardice. But Tae-min was studying his opponent, learning Gorath's patterns and limitations. The monster was incredibly strong and surprisingly fast, but he wasn't very smart. He attacked in straight lines. He got frustrated when he missed. Most importantly, he had never learned to pace himself because no fight had ever lasted long enough to tire him out. Tae-min began to implement his strategy. He led Gorath on a chase through the rocky terrain, always staying just out of reach. When the monster climbed up to follow him, Tae-min would jump to a floating platform. When Gorath tried to jump after him, Tae-min would swing on an energy bridge to another level. After 10 minutes, Gorath was breathing hard. After 20 minutes, he was sweating. The crowd began to understand what the human was doing, and the booing turned to amazed murmurs. But Tae-min knew he couldn't run forever. The poison in his system was making him weaker by the minute. Soon, he would have to fight. His chance came when the arena environment shifted. The rocky canyon became a forest of metal trees with narrow spaces between them. Gorath's size, which had been an advantage in open ground, now worked against him. He had to squeeze between the metal trunks, slowing him down. Tae-min used the trees like a jungle gym, swinging from branch to branch, always keeping obstacles between himself and his opponent. When Gorath tried to follow, the human would drop down and strike at the monster's legs or back, then disappear before Gorath could retaliate. None of Tae-min's attacks did serious damage. He wasn't strong enough to penetrate Gorath's natural. armor. But each small cut and bruise added up. More importantly, each hit made Gorath angrier and less careful. The crowd was on its feet now. This wasn't the quick, brutal fight they had expected. This was something new, a battle between brains and brawn, patience and power. In the royal box, Princess Hyera leaned forward in her seat. Her father noticed her intense attention to the fight. "The human impresses you," High Commander Veltar observed. "He fights like water," she replied, flexible, persistent, finding every weakness. Water can be boiled away, but first it carves canyons through the hardest stone. 30 minutes into the fight, Gorath made his first serious mistake. Frustrated by Taemin's hit-and-run tactics, he grabbed one of the metal trees and tried to uproot it to use as a weapon. The tree was bigger than he expected. As he struggled with it, his back was exposed. Taemin dropped from above, landing on Gorath's shoulders. He wrapped his arms around the monster's thick neck and squeezed with every ounce of strength he had left. Gorath roared and spun around, trying to shake the human off. He slammed his back against a metal tree, crushing Taemin between his body and the trunk. Pain exploded through the human's ribs, but he held on. The monster reached back, trying to grab Taemin with his claws. The human twisted away from the slashing talons, but one claw caught his armor and tore it away, leaving a bloody line across his chest. Taemin knew he couldn't hold on much longer. His vision was starting to blur, and he could taste blood in his mouth. But Gorath was weakening too. The monster's struggles were becoming less violent. Then the arena environment changed again. The metal forest disappeared, replaced by a simple circular platform surrounded by empty space. No obstacles, no places to hide, just two fighters and nowhere to run. Gorath finally managed to grab Taemin and throw him across the platform. The human hit the ground hard and rolled to a stop near the edge. He tried to get up, but his legs wouldn't support him. The poison, the injuries, and the exhaustion had finally caught up with him. Gorath walked over slowly, savoring his victory. Blood ran from small cuts all over his body, and he was breathing hard, but he was still standing. The human was finished. "You fought well for a primitive," Gorath said in a voice like grinding stone, "but now you die, and your species serves us forever." The monster raised his claws for the killing blow, and Princess Hyera stood up in the royal box. "Wait!" she called, her musical voice carrying clearly across the arena. Every creature in the arena turned to look at her. Gorath paused with his claws raised. Even High Commander Veltar seemed surprised by his daughter's interruption. Princess Hyera stepped forward to the edge of the royal box, where everyone could see her clearly. Her silver hair moved in a wind that existed nowhere else, and her blue skin seemed to glow with its own light. "Citizens of the consortium," she said, her voice amplified so all could hear. "I invoke my right as Princess of the Vellani Empire to make a declaration before this combat ends." The arena was so quiet that Taemin could hear his own heartbeat. 2 million alien beings held their breath as Princess Hyera stood at the edge of the royal box, her blue skin glowing like starlight. "Win this fight, human," she declared, her voice carrying to every corner of the massive arena. "And you win me." The silence stretched for what felt like forever. Then the arena exploded into chaos. Aliens jumped to their feet, shouting in 100 different languages. Some cheered. Others protested, many simply stared in shock. The floating cameras buzzed frantically, trying to capture every reaction. High Commander Veltar rose from his throne, his golden eyes blazing with anger. "Hyera! What are you doing?" "I am choosing my mate according to our ancient laws," she replied calmly. "The strongest warrior wins the greatest prize, and I have seen enough to know that this human possesses a strength our people have forgotten." "He is losing." Veltar gestured toward the arena floor where Gorath still stood over the wounded Taemin. "How can you call a losing warrior strong?" "Because, father, he has already won something more valuable than this fight. He has won the respect of the galaxy." Down on the arena floor, Taemin struggled to understand what was happening. The princess had just declared that she would marry him if he won. But more than that, she had called him strong in front of the entire consortium. Her words gave him something he thought he had lost forever, a reason to believe in himself. Gorath looked back and forth between the royal box and his fallen opponent, confused by the interruption. "This changes nothing," he growled. "The human is finished." But Taemin was already moving. While everyone's attention was on the princess, he had crawled to where his combat knife lay broken on the arena floor. The blade was shattered, but the handle still had a sharp metal edge. As Gorath turned back to deliver the killing blow, Taemin rolled between the monster's legs and drove the broken knife handle into the soft spot behind Gorath's knee. The giant creature roared in pain and surprise, stumbling forward. Dark blood flowed from the wound. For the first time in the fight, Gorath was truly hurt. Taemin forced himself to stand. His vision was blurry, and his ribs felt like broken glass, but Princess Hyera's words echoed in his mind. She believed. He was strong. Maybe it was time he believed it too. "You want to know what makes humans different?" Taemin said, circling the wounded monster. "We don't fight because we're the strongest. We fight because we refuse to give up." Gorath charged again, but his injured leg slowed him down. Taemin sidestepped and grabbed the monster's arm as he passed, using Gorath's own momentum to throw him toward the edge of the platform. The crowd was on its feet again, but this time they were cheering for both fighters. This was the kind of battle that would be remembered for generations. For the next 10 minutes, the two warriors traded blows. Gorath was still stronger, but his injury made him clumsy. Taemin was nearly exhausted, but his mind was clear and focused. Every move was calculated, every attack carefully planned. The end came suddenly. Gorath, frustrated by his inability to finish the smaller opponent, made one final desperate charge. Taemin waited until the last possible second, then dropped to the ground and swept Gorath's wounded leg. The monster crashed to the platform with a sound like thunder. Before he could get up, Taemin was on top of him, pressing the broken knife handle against Gorath's throat. "Yield," Taemin said quietly. Gorath's red eyes burned with rage. "Never. Kill me or I will kill you." "I don't want to kill you," Taemin replied. "I want you to understand something. Strength isn't about how many people you can hurt. It's about how many people you can protect." For a moment, something changed in Gorath's expression. The rage faded, replaced by something that might have been curiosity. "You had many chances to kill me during this fight," Gorath said slowly. "Why didn't you?" "Because my people don't fight to destroy. We fight to survive. There's a difference." Gorath was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nodded. "I yield." The arena erupted. The sound was like a hurricane made of voices. Aliens threw things into the air, danced in the aisles, embraced strangers. The human had done the impossible. He had defeated the undefeatable Gorath the Destroyer. But more than that, he had done it without hatred. He had shown mercy to an opponent who would have killed him without hesitation. This was something new in the galaxy, something that many species had forgotten was possible. The arena announcer's voice boomed over the chaos. "Winner of the Grand Championship, Taemin Kim of Earth." In the royal box, Princess Hyera was smiling. Her father looked stunned, but there was something like respect in his golden eyes. "It seems," High Commander Veltar said quietly, "that we have underestimated these humans." "Yes," Princess Hyera agreed, "and that may be the best thing that has happened to the consortium in 1,000 years. Over the next few hours, everything changed. The Consortium Council met in emergency session and voted unanimously to grant Earth full membership in the Galactic Alliance. Not as a protected species or junior partner, but as equals, the human. Victory had proven that strength came in many forms, and the galaxy was ready to learn what humans could teach them. Taemin was taken to the medical bay, where alien doctors worked to heal his injuries. The poison was neutralized, his broken ribs were mended, and his cuts were sealed with technology that seemed like magic. Princess Hyera visited him as he recovered. "You kept your promise," she said, sitting beside his medical bed. "You won the fight." "Does that mean you have to marry me?" Taemin asked. The idea still seemed impossible. "According to our laws, yes, but I want you to know something. My declaration wasn't about duty or tradition, it was about choice." "What do you mean?" "I mean that in all my years, watching all The champions of all the species in the galaxy. I have never seen anyone fight the way you do, with honor, but also with intelligence, with strength, but also with mercy. You fight like someone who understands that victory means more than just winning. She reached out and took his hand. Her skin was cool and soft, like touching moonlight. I would be honored to be your wife, Taemin Kim of Earth. Not because I have to, but because I want to. You have shown me that there are better ways to be strong. 3 months later, Taemin stood on a balcony of the Vellani Royal Palace, looking out at the stars. Earth was visible in the distance, a blue and white jewel against the black of space. His sister had sent him a letter that morning, telling him how proud she was. The children in her classes now studied galactic history alongside their regular lessons. Princess Hyra, now his wife, joined him at the balcony railing. Marriage to an alien princess had been strange at first, but they had found common ground in their shared belief that strength should be used to protect, not conquer. The council approved the human proposal, she said. Your species will help establish the new Galactic Peace Corps. Instead of solving conflicts through combat, we'll try negotiation and understanding first. Will it work? I don't know, but it's worth trying. Your people have shown us that there are alternatives to violence. Taemin smiled. We're not saints, you know. Humans can be just as violent as anyone else. Yes, but you're also capable of something many species have lost. The ability to choose not to be violent when you don't have to be. A shooting star streaked across the sky between them and Earth. Taemin made a wish that his sister and all the children she taught would grow up in a galaxy where strength was measured by how much you could build, not how much you could destroy. What are you thinking about? Hera asked. Home. And how strange it is that I had to leave Earth to find out what it really means to be human. What does it mean? Taemin was quiet for a moment, thinking about everything that had happened. The underground, fights, the arena, the moment when he chose to show mercy to Gorath instead of hatred. I think it means that we never stop trying to be better than we are. Even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when everyone tells us it's impossible. Princess Hyra smiled and leaned against his shoulder. That sounds like a good way to live. Yeah, Taemin agreed, watching the stars. I think it is. Far below them, the galaxy turned in its ancient dance. But something had changed. For the first time in centuries, different species were talking to each other instead of just fighting. It was a small beginning, but it was a beginning. And sometimes, Taemin thought, that was enough. Sometimes the best victories were the ones that opened doors instead of closing them. Sometimes winning meant everyone got to go home.